Shri Gurubhyo Namaha children. In the last session, we have discussed about text file and binary file. In this session, we are going to discuss a third different type of file called as your CSV files. So, in this session, we are going to see what is a CSV file and how we are going to open and close the CSV file and how we are going to write data into the CSV file and how we are going to read data from your CSV file. So what is CSV? CSV is comma separated values. CSV files are delimited files that store tabular data where comma delimits every value, that is, the values are separated by comma. That is, each record in your file will have a delimiter. By default, the delimiter is comma. Each line in a CSV file is a data record. So, all the records will be separated by comma. Each record consists of one or more fields separated by comma. So, each field in your record will be by default separated by comma. The default delimiter is comma. So, we have other delimiters also like char, colon and type symbol and semicolon. These are other delimiters that you can set for your records. What are the characteristics? So, these characteristics of your CSV file are one line for each record and each record has a field. Those fields are separated by comma. The space characters adjacent to comma are ignored. Fields with built-in commas are separated by double quotes characters. So what is the use and why do we use it? When data has a strict tabular structure format, like for example, in large databases, that is in SQL or other formats, we store it in a tabular structure format. So to read those such type of databases, or when it comes to large data in the sense, such data will be stored in the form of tabular structures. Those data will be read by using your CSV file. So to transfer large database between your programs, we need CSV file. And to import and export data to Office applications, example, Excel, or it may be your spreadsheet, you can import or export your files in the form of your tabular structure format. And to store, manage and modify some shipping cart catalogs also, you can use CSV files. So writing into data into CSV file. Writing into CSV file involves the conversion of user data into a writable, delimited form and storing it in the form of CSV file. So whatever the data that the user gives will be converted into through your writer object, and through that a delimiter will be attached to the user data and it gets stored into the CSV file. So the extension for your file is .csv. So here are some of the functions when we are using your CSV files. CSV writer returns writer object and writes data into the file. That is, to write data into your CSV file, a writer object is needed where it connects with your CSV file to write the data. So that writer object is being associated with a function called as your write row and write rows. Write one row data into writer object. So each row, every row or each row of your record will write into the file. Here write rows, that is, it writes multiple rows of data onto your writer object. Write row function writes single row of data and returns the number of characters it has been written. The row must be a sequence of strings and numbers. In write row function, rows function, multiple rows of data is being written into the file and returns, and the rows must be in sequence. So these are the steps when you are writing data into your CSV file. The first step is import the CSV model. Open the CSV file using the file handle. Normally, when you are working with binary files or your text files, we need a file handle to be associated with that particular file. The same way here, to write the data in the form of CSV file also, we need a file handle to be associated. Create the writer object. That is, we have to create a writer object to associate with your CSV file. So the name of the writer object is equal to CSV.writer of file handle, comma, the delimiter. If the delimiter can be specified any other characters, otherwise by default it will take it as a comma. Obtain the user data. Once it has been connected with the writer object has been connected with your file, you have to get the user data. That user data forms a Python sequence, that is, it may be in the form of list or tuple. Write those Python sequence containing the user data onto the writer object using your write row or write rows function. Once the job is completed, you need to close the file. In reading your files, reading CSV files involves loading of CSV file data, that is parsing, that is by removing your delimitation. That is, when you are writing it has been attached with a delimiter. When you are reading, it passes, it removes your delimitation, only the data is being given. Loading it in the Python iteratable and then reading from the iteratable, which means that each and every record should be read. So it should be iteratable, that is, the process should be repeated to read all the contents or to read all the records from your file. So it should be iteratable. Once the reading is over, you can close the file. So the reader method function takes file object and returns a CSV.reader object that can be used to iterate over the contents of the file. That is, to read all the contents from your file, a reader object is needed to be associated with the file. So the syntax is CSV.reader, file object, dialog, and FT param. These are optional values. So these are the steps when you are reading data from your file. Import CSV file. Open CSV file in a file handle, that is, in read mode you are going to open it, and file handle should be associated with your CSV file, and in reading mode create the reader object. So the name of your reader object equal to CSV reader of, then your file name. The reader object stores the parsed data in the form of iteratable. So it reads the data from your file and it gets stored in your reader object. Process the fetch a single row of data as required. So as per the user's need, you can process the each row of your record. Then at last you have to close the file. Now we will execute how reading and writing will take place in a CSV file. The first step is import CSV model. In second step, you have to open a file student.csv. In writing mode we have opened. Notice that the extension for this file is .csv. So here STU writer, we have created a writer object to be associated with the file student CSV. So the syntax is CSV.writer of fh, which means fh is a handle for your CSV file. Then STUREC, that is, we are creating the first row or the first record of your information as a header. So initially we are storing the name of your fields. We are storing it. Now stu.write write row of student rec, that is, this write row will write the contents of your student read into the file, right? So here we are using an iteratable method to input the values into your file. So print student record I+1, roll number. So get the roll number from the user, name, marks. So once all this data has been taken from the user's input, then you are creating, that is already we have created student read, and initially we have stored the field name of your records. So here each time that you are going to get the value from your user, those record of information you are writing into the CSV file using STUREC. That is, first we are storing in the variable, then STUWriter.write row, that is the second row. First row is your field name. Now we are writing the second row of information. So the process will be repeated based on the number of iteratable steps. So every time this function, write row function, will write record into the file. Now we'll execute. It asks for the input. So your roll number is 11. Name is Sharada. The marks is 89. Second row 12. The marks are 71, 13. Marks are fourth record. Marks are, and fifth record, the roll number is 15 and the name is and the marks are 60. Right? So we have completed writing data into the file. Now we'll check how the data has been written into the file. So the name of your file is student.csv file. Right? See, the first record of the file is the name of your field. From the second record, you are writing the data what we have got from the users as an input. So here we have seen how your write row function works. That is, this write row function works for each input by the user. It writes every record of information into the file. Suppose if you want to write many more records into the file, in the sense you can proceed for write rows. Right? So here the same way we have opened the file, and STU writer, we have the writer object we have associated with the file. Here student record, here we are not doing any iteratable step. Simply we have given the field name of your record, and other records we have entered in the form of your list values. Then using your writer object and with your function write rows, we are writing into the file called as your STUCSV. Right? So it does not return any value while write rows function is being executed. Now we'll open and check the file student CSV file. Right? So the records, the first record has been given, the other record has been directly written into the file using your write row function. Now we will see how to read records from the CSV file and display the data. Same way we have to import CSV module, and we have to use open your CSV file with reading mode, and a file handle has been associated with. Then we have created a reader object, and that reader object through the function reader of is being associated with CSV file, and for every record, that is every time it reads the record from your file, and that record will be printed. thing, it reads the record from your file and it prints the records, that is 1, 2, 3 records are there in the file and it prints it. And one more thing, you would have noticed that a small space has been given. That is, here, while reading your CSV file, you can attach one more delimiter called as your new line. And if you want to omit your delimiter, that is slash or slash n, that is new line characters. If you want to remove the sense, you can attach new line as equal to slash r slash n. Now we'll execute. Yeah, moving closer. Right. Now you can notice the difference between the previous output and this output. In this, by considering your slash n and slash r characters as the end of a line, and it has not been given as an output, as we have given a delimiter. Otherwise, it displays for every record of information, the new line characters or the end of translation characters will be displayed. That is, even your CSV file is also in the form of your text file. So all your internal translations will take place in your text file. So it takes all your EOL characters and gives us a result. So if you want to omit that, you can specify a new line as the end of line characters. You can specify and it omits and prints the record of information. Thank you, children. To receive our online lessons, please press the subscribe button and you will receive the latest updates.